we see the killing of our kids not just in these mass shootings, but in the killing of all the innocence that children are supposed to have.
I had an awesome childhood, awesome. Look, and I'm sitting, we're denying your kids that because they sit on a cell phone, an iPad, in front of a computer, playing video games and watching TV that's just a buffet of violence, a lot of it. And I'm talking about even the TV I watch, The Sopranos and all, and I just, and so that's a wickedness that we don't seem to want to address. And I couldn't imagine you and your wife when you like, you can't give your kids this. We used to just go out in the street and play, and parents would be comfortable with that. Just, when the street lights come home, make sure you're home. Can y'all do that now?
Not like we did. we talk about it. There's a distance in our neighborhood that I tell my wife all the time. When we grew up, you know, I could go, you know, halfway down the neighborhood and play and go to this friend's house and we're gonna ride all over. I'm like, I don't know if I would want my kids to be that far from me because of what society's done. But to your point, the evil that we see as parents, and I can't speak for all parents now, but parents who are godly, faithful, and are trying to live kind of like my wife and I, we see the killing of our kids not just in these mass shootings, but in the killing of all the innocence that children are supposed to have. You know, I grew up with, you know, Bugs Bunny, cartoons and things of that nature. We knew that was fantasy. We knew I'm not trying to shoot anybody like Bugs. I mean, it was, you know, playful. But I also grew up playing with kids in my neighborhood. I grew up where I knew my neighbors and my neighbors knew them. And we grew up in this kind of scenario where we were connected in relationship. We did not have social media. We did not have the lure of what that looks like. So even if we were picked on as kids, and I think there's a rumor about this particular killer, he was bullied as a kid. Even if that were the case, I would probably come home to my mom or grandmother and talk about that. And she's going to tell me about how God made me and that I'm valuable and that, you know, those are just words, etc. And that was it. But think about how our kids are growing up now to where they're in the social media age. So if you're bullied at school, now you're gonna, because you got your phone, you're gonna see 1,200 other kids that you're so-called friends with mentioning the same thing. And it's going on all the time, and the games and the TV. I'll just say there are some movies that I wanted to take my kids to see this year that we're not gonna be able to do because the movies are intently putting same-sex relationship in a child rated G movie. Now my kids are, you know, they're too young to understand what that even looks like, but even the movies that we see, we're killing the innocence of, hey, a child should be able to see an innocent film and learn valuable lessons and leave without their mind distorted by evil. So we see a lot of this killing, not just on TV. Now, where I do grieve and mourn with these parents, though, is that on a very basic level, these parents line their kids' clothes out, packed their lunches, sent them to school with the expectation of picking them up.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's where, for me, and where we looked at on last night, my wife and I, Hebrews chapter 2, verse 1 says, therefore we must give more earnest heed to the things we've heard, lest we drift away. So what that does for me is that lets me know I can't stop the wind from blowing. I can't stop somebody getting in their car driving recklessly. I can't stop evil things from happening. I can't. But what I can do is obey God's word. I can trust in God and live faithfully. I can disciple my kids and have them to obey the gospel, being baptized into Christ to where their soul is secure with Christ. And that for me is the hope and the comfort that I'm able to live in now, because we're in a world where even if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as a parent, drop my kids off to school, evil can meet them there. And you pointed it out. That was not the world that I grew up in, and we're talking late 80s and 90s. So it's tragic.